Hey guys, Sleepy J here from pregame.com, back with another NFL team preview. Got Uncle Dave with me here today. You guys know where to find Uncle Dave on Twitter at Dave_Essler and right here at pregame.com. We're going to go ahead. We're going to preview the Dallas Cowboys. Current team total on the Dallas Cowboys right now. We're going to go ahead. We're going to call it 10.5. That seems to be pretty much the consensus. There are some rogue 9.5s out there, but it's a lot of juice to the over. So let's just go ahead. We'll call Dallas Cowboys team total right now at 10.5. Uncle Dave, I want to start out with the schedule here, and it's kind of tough here with Dallas. They're going to get stuck here with 9 road games this season and only 8 home games. So that's not good for them. 5 of their games are going to be during prime time. 3 of those are actually going to be on the road here, 2 at home. The 2 that they get at home, they're not layups. It's against Philly and it's against Seattle. So the primetime games for them this year, not exactly the greatest. And I said, the road primetime games, they're not going to be easy either. They're going to play the Chargers, the 49ers, and they're going to start out with the Giants on the road to open up the season. So if you look at just the primetime games, schedule-wise, not good. I actually missed a primetime game here. It's going to be at home against the Lions. So, all right, so they get another primetime game, but it's going to be at home against a good team like the Lions. So overall, let's just say primetime game is going to be tough. I think that that's fair. They're going to have to play at Buffalo. They have to play at Miami, late at Philly. Got to play the Patriots, got to play the Jets. It feels like 10 wins to me is going to kind of be tough here. Let me take a look real quick here at the Vegas strength of schedule. Right now it says around 19th. I mean, they had a very easy schedule last year. I'm just kind of thinking about this a little bit on the fly. I actually think that the easy schedule last year inflated some of these teams' numbers on offense and defense. I mean, a couple easy wins here for Dallas, obviously. I mean, Arizona would be one. I mean, they're definitely going to beat the Giants. They might even beat them twice. They could actually beat the Commanders twice. So let's just say like that. That could potentially be like 5 games there. They got Carolina. They got the Rams. So maybe 5-6 wins. Like I said, like the road schedule just isn't exactly easy. Man, 10 wins on this schedule just seems tough. I don't want to make a prediction right now, but this schedule doesn't look like there's 11 wins, let alone 10. I don't know, David. How are you feeling about the schedule right now? Are you kind of seeing a couple roadblocks here?
Yeah, I am sleepy, and I'm looking at this kind of like I've looked at a lot of the other previews we've done and bets I've made. I want to see how teams start. But so I look at the beginning, and they got 2 tough games. I mean, they're at the Giants, and obviously that's a huge game. It's a division game. It's in prime time. So there's 2.5, 3-point favorites in that game, but that's a losable game. And then they're at home to the Jets and Aaron Rodgers, who's 8-3 against Dallas all time. So I can easily see them starting 0-2 before they go ahead and lay up against Arizona. If it were anyone but Dallas starting 0-2, I might not worry. But this is a team that always underachieves, Sleepy, and with Jerry Jones has also been a bit mentally fragile. I mean, then they've got back-to-back road games at the 49ers, at the Chargers, and that to me smells like a split at best. So, maybe 3 likely losses by the middle of October, and they still won't have played the Eagles yet, who obviously they played twice. Then, later on in the season, they're at Buffalo and at Miami, both in December. So the Bills game has the potential for ugly weather, and the Miami game has potential for humidity. And that's also back-to-back weeks. So in order to win 11 games, I'm kind of with you. It seems to me that Dallas really has no room for error or injury for that matter. So, yeah, I think it's going to be tough for them to win an over bet at 10.5.
All right, so I'm kind of still up in the air on the schedule because I think that this Dallas team could actually look at the schedule and potentially dominate it too, depending on how this team plays. The offense, I don't mind. Me personally, I think Dak is good. I think he can go out there and win games. I think he can win playoff games, against other wild card or first round games if needed. I think the fact that Zeke is gone is going to be a help for them. I think that's an upgrade moving Pollard into to being the starter here. I see CD Lamb as being a very good wide receiver. The wide receiver core, It worried me a little bit, but here's what I see right now. And I don't know if anybody thinks this the same way that I'm thinking here. You have CD Lamb, you have Gallup, you have Brandon Cooks. You're going to lose Dalton Schultz, who I think Dak really liked. Now you're going to get Ferguson in there. But the way that this Dallas team right now on this is going to be a different Dallas team from what they were last year. It's going to be different on offense, and I think it's going to be actually noticeable. I think you're going to see Dallas throwing a lot of bombs this year. They're going to look more probably like an offense like a college football type of offense where they're going to spread you out, they're going to take deep shots, it's going to be a faster paced offense with a running back out of the backfield that can catch, that's got a lot of speed. They brought some other younger running backs in, but when you look at guys like Cooks, Gallup, CD Lamb, those are deep threat type of receivers. I don't think you're going to see a lot of stuff across the middle in the slot, short passes. It's going to be like one of those home run type of offenses. And I think Dallas is going to strike quite a bit here. But here's the wager that I will give out, and I'll give this out to you now because this is the way that I see this offense running. A lot of home run balls, a lot of deep shots, and Dak Prescott's going to throw a lot of interceptions this year. Right now, his interception prop there, Uncle Dave, is at 12.5. I could see easily, close to 18 interceptions for him this year. He had 15 last year, and it was in a little bit of a different offense with Zeke, and there was no Cooks out there. And he only played in like 14 games or 12 games or something like that, and he ended up going over this number last year. So I think that this offense actually creates more opportunities for Dallas to score points, but it also creates more opportunities for Dak to go ahead and throw a lot of interceptions. If he's dialed in here, I think this Dallas offense could be explosive, hard to stop. If he's not, I think that I think this team could actually get away from McCarthy a little bit. So right now, I kind of like this Dallas offense. I'm actually excited to see if what I think is going to play out on paper here. I think the ceiling for this Dallas offense and this Dallas team is actually very, very, very high. So I do have a couple of things I want to talk about with Dak there, Uncle Dave, but I kind of want to just kind of get your feeling on how you see this offense overall. Then I can throw the Dak stuff on top, and then maybe we can kind of figure out, what we're both thinking, how we're both feeling about this Dallas offense.
Yeah, well, from what you said, I think we're thinking fairly similarly. I mean, we know Dak hasn't played a full season in 2 of the last 3 years, and you know, I think this offense is all about Dak. And I'm going to apologize in advance for America's team fans. I don't hate Dak. There's certainly a lot worse quarterbacks in the league, and a lot of them. But I'm not a Dak fan. I mean, he can make plays, but he can also make plays that are costly, as you mentioned, his interceptions. And his record against teams above 500 is I think 22-25, which only when I looked at that solidified my line of thinking that he seems not to get it done when it really mattered. And that big fat contract he signed 2 years ago, he's now the ninth highest paid quarterback in the league. I mean, that's you know I don't know if that bothers him, worries him. I don't know, but it's got to be in there somewhere. And he's not old; he's 30, but he does have 30-year-old legs, and he hasn't run for 200 yards or more, or scored more than 3 touchdowns since 2019. So I'm not throwing him under the bus because there's plenty of teams that he'd be a massive upgrade for. But in my opinion, I think he's overrated. I've always felt that way. Let's not forget, he was a fourth-round draft pick. I mean, yes, okay, Tom Brady was a sixth, but there's exceptions to every rule. So again, I think it's all about Dak. At running back, obviously the question is if Pollard can stay healthy, and if he's a full-time number one back. When he's great out of the backfield, perhaps one of the best in the league. And if last season was the breakout year, he had 1,000 yards on a couple hundred carries, and clearly Dallas thinks he's the man because they let Zeke go. But there were 15 guys last year that rushed for more yards, and featured backs in the league. They run the ball about 100 times more a season than he did last year. I'm not saying he isn't good either. I'm saying let me see a whole season as the number one back, and then we'll talk. I know they have a stable of wide receivers. I mean, I've always wondered why Brandon Cooks didn't stay on one team very long. I'm still a little pissed he isn't on the Patriots, but this year he's got a lot of help. Maybe in years past he was the featured guy, so in Dallas he'll end up putting up some points. But again, it's that schedule and Jerry Jones that concerns me. I mean, as I reiterate again, nearly every franchise that's historically good has an owner that owns and hires people to coach. And, I guess until Dallas does that, I can't bet that they will. But to circle around, I think the whole offense, they say all it revolves around Dak. Well, I think it is about Dak. I don't think there's a better example of the offense revolves around Dak. And if Dak plays like Dak got paid to play, Dallas would be awesome. If Dak, as you mentioned, throws a lot of interceptions, which, as I mentioned, has a high probability of cashing that ticket, Dallas won't win 11 games. Actually, excuse me. So I think we see things very similarly there, Sleepy.
When it comes to Dak, Uncle Dave, I don't want to say that I'm not a fan of Dak, but like you were talking about, like he didn't get drafted until late. Like nobody really expected him, I don't think, when he got drafted to be this team's starting quarterback. And in order to be Dallas's quarterback, like you kind of got to be good. I mean, you're stepping into a pretty big spotlight there. And not only that, the fact that like this dude went out there and he snapped his ankle in half and stuff. Like I really think things were kind of pitted against him, and the fact that he's found himself on the other side, got this big contract. I guess I can only kind of root for the guy, but I'm certainly not a Dallas fan. I'm not a Dak guy, but I don't want to say I dislike him at all. I think his QBR last year was just slightly above average. His completion percentage was 66.2%. That's average. And I think that in this particular offense, he cannot be average, like you were kind of saying there, Uncle Dave. I will say that. Zeke kind of out of the backfield and Schultz gone. With like the two high safeties, like he needs to be accurate this year. He's going to have to use a lot of Pollard out of the backfield. He's going to have to be pinpoint accurate. I mean, I think that that's kind of the way that this offense is, and I think that that's the way that it's going to be ran anyway. It's going to be home run balls, be accurate, boom, they're going to get you. I see a lot of that this year. Here's one of my concerns, though. The Cowboys are going to have to face one of the hardest secondary schedules in the entire league. And that's why one of the reasons why I do like Dak to throw all these interceptions. But, these home run balls that we're going to see, it might not just be like, that Oregon or that Oklahoma offense where it's like bang, bang, bang. They're just, or USC, from last year, whatever, where they're just bombing on you and it's constant because they are going to play some tough secondary. So, um, yeah, I would say right now I'm comfortable with the Dak interceptions over 12 and a half. I would bet that. Let's talk about the defense, Uncle Dave, because I think that that's where a lot of people are looking right now on this Dallas defense. Like right now in fantasy drafts, the Dallas defense is going as the number 2 defense off the board. So people are thinking this Dallas defense is going to be very good. I don't know what you think right now. I'm kind of on the fence. And the reason why I'm on the fence is because Dallas's schedule was very easy last year. And if their schedule was very easy, it's going to inflate their numbers. So right now, I think the easy thing for me to say, Uncle Dave, is that if you want to be the second defense in the league, second best, then show me. Because based off of last year, I don't want to say that you're not good. I think they're good. But number 2, you're going to have to show me. So I can't believe it and I can't buy into it that your defense is really just that good right now. So that's kind of where I'm at with the defense right now, Uncle Dave. Still some questions, think they're good. But in order to really convince me, they got to show me, and I haven't seen it yet. Obviously, we haven't played any games yet. How are you feeling about Dallas defense overall?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I can't find a lot of holes there, Sleepy. I mean, there's no doubt they have the talent, and I think the addition of Mozzie Smith out of Michigan with that first round draft pick. I mean, I think it only adds to a pass rush that I didn't really see needing adding to. But they go back. I go back almost sometimes to the schedule a little bit. They're going to face some well above average quarterbacks this year. Outside of their own division, they're going to face Tua, Josh Allen, Herbert, Goff, Stafford. I like Dan Quinn, I really do, and he's certainly an upgrade over Mike Nolan. They had the 5th best points per game defense last year, and they were 6th in 2021. So I don't think the defense will be their undoing, barring injuries. If they just go out, again, I mean, this kind of goes back to attitude and how you conduct yourself. If they go back to just playing football instead of, maybe. Uh, I don't know. Let's call it showboating, if you will. You know, guys like Trevon Diggs, and he'll get out there and start waving his this and doing that, and Micah Parsons and Stephon Gilmore's not like that. Remember, but they have him this year. They didn't last year, so I mean they've got the talent to be the number one defense in the NFL. Now, again, that gets down to coaching, and that's going to be on Dan Quinn to get them to play football and not read the press clippings about how good they are. Because I think talent wise, they probably have the most talent in the league. So I'll just leave it at that. Again, I don't think the defense will be their undoing, and I'll just circle back once again and say, what Dallas does this season is going to be all on Dak, and if he doesn't put the defense in bad positions, they'll do well, and that's the whether I look at the offense, the defense, the schedule, last year, this year, next year, I think it all comes down to Dak Prescott, regardless of how much talent they have, which is obviously a lot.
All right, Uncle Dave, you said a lot there. A lot of that makes sense. Kind of one of the things that you sparked up was this kind of maybe it's a crazy thought, but I think the Dallas ceiling is very high. And I thought this going into, into looking at this team going under 10 and a half wins. I think that that's a possibility. But I do think the ceiling for this team, Uncle Dave, believe it or not, could potentially be like an NFC championship game. I could see them getting there. And one of the reasons I could see them probably getting there is because the NFC is extremely weak. I mean, you have Philadelphia, you have San Fran. We could say Seattle and Detroit, pretty good teams. But where does Dallas fall? When you really look at the NFC, like, are they the fifth best team? Maybe they are. I don't know. But it depends on like where all these teams end up playing and and who they're going to match up against. When the playoffs come, there's a chance that Dallas could end up with just, believe it or not, like an easy kind of a draw. And if this offense is high powered and they're just a tough offense to stop, I actually think that Dallas could potentially make the NFC Championship game. I don't know if they can make the Super Bowl with Dak, but if this defense is as good as people are thinking that they are, and this offense actually explodes, this could be a really, really tough team, a team that nobody's going to want to see come playoff time. So I don't want to bet this team over, but I would actually take a look at maybe some like, to make the playoffs, to make the championship, maybe even to make the Super Bowl, something like that, like odds, like wagers like that. I think that there is a very, very high ceiling here for Dallas. I don't think the floor is very low. Eight losses, 8 wins, or 8 losses. I think is probably like their floor. They're not going to have like a terrible season, and I think that they do have depth on this team too. So I think that they could avoid that. So those are kind of some wagers I was thinking about there, Uncle Dave. Like like let's just say Dallas has their best season there, Uncle Dave. Where do they finish with that?
I agree with you, and you kind of said a mouthful there when you said the ceiling is very high. But hasn't the ceiling been high for Dallas every year? And I kind of have to go with history. I'm already almost nauseous watching Jerry Jones if they start off 7-0 or whatnot. I think if I were going to bet this team's win total, I don't think I would do it right now. I think I would wait and see how they play against the Giants. And remember they got a tough game in week 2, so I might uh, make a. I mean, I'd almost be tempted to wait and be ready to make an in season, if you will, wager on the Cowboys win total. At the end of week 1 or during that game, or maybe in week 2. If I would never bet an over, I just can't. But if you could still grab a 10.5 after week 1, if they lose to the Giants, I could see doing that, or maybe even after or during week 2, if they're not looking dominant, and some books are still not moving because they're Dallas, and they maybe lopsided with over money. I don't know, but I think that would be the way I would look at Dallas's win total. Is let me wait and see, but let me not wait too long to wait and see. How about that?
All right. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, that's always one. It's a safe approach. You get to see a lot, doing that type of thing. So um, I don't know. I feel like this could be a breakout team. Like this could be one of the shocker teams. Like maybe like very similar to the season that Minnesota had last year where they won 13 games. I actually think there's another team in the AFC, the Baltimore Ravens, that could end up winning like 13 games. I feel like both of those offenses are kind of similar. I just see a lot of home run type balls. Like just I don't know, it's just what I see with these two teams right now. And I think the ceiling for both of those teams could potentially be a championship type of game. Um, so I mean, there's some ideas there. The one wager I'll give you, Dak interceptions over. I feel like that's a very good bet. I would probably I'd probably do the same thing there, Uncle David. Let me just see a game or two. And if this defense is as good as advertised, and if this offense actually looks like they have it together and it's running well, then maybe you look to go ahead and play it over, or maybe you look to go ahead and play it under. So let's go ahead, let's do that. Let's go ahead and make that a consideration.
Let me throw something else in there, Sleepy. Seeing as how we're doing prop bets here. Um, I think that I would be willing to find some Tony Pollard bets, uh, because and maybe even in fantasy too, if you haven't drafted yet, because I suspect defenses are going to be on their heels with all of Dallas's weapons on the outside, which will certainly open things up even more for Pollard. And they ran the ball well last year without Brandon Cooks, if you will. You're betting Dak over interceptions. I will find some Tony Pollard props to where he ends with his yards. He probably will go over his total, and probably put him in fantasy somewhere for sure. So those are just some added thoughts as I was thinking as you were talking that I came up with. So let's underscore that one.
I love that, Uncle Dave. He's actually going off the board right now with the running backs in fantasy football. I think he's going like he's definitely getting picked within like the first top six running backs. And I think that the way this offense is kind of set up, it's actually geared for a running back to actually do well with the talents that he has. He can catch the ball, he can run the ball. And if this Dallas offense operates the way I think it is, they're going to spread you out and they're going to open you up. Between the tackles might actually be really good, and swing passes coming out actually could be really good. Like I don't think this is going to be one of those north and south type of offense. It's going to be more of a east and west, high flying, rockets going up and down the field. Like that's just the way that I see it. And I could see Pollard end up, being the beneficiary of breaking off some pretty big runs or some throws. And I think that that's something that you guys may want to go ahead and target. Is maybe week one you're looking at longest receptions for some of these wide receivers, because I think I actually think that that's the way this Dallas offense is going to operate. It's going to be long bombs down the field. And some of the longest reception props, you guys might be able to pick them off, and it will take a while for the market to go ahead and actually pick up that this is what this offense is doing. And sometimes you only get one opportunity a game to go ahead and, let's just say get CD Lamb over 28 and a half yards, but you might get multiple opportunities, and that's all you need, when you have a wide receiver, of NFL talent, to go ahead and pick off one of those type of catches. So that's what I think that you guys probably want to look at and maybe gear your mind towards that type of a Dallas offense, when you're looking at your props. But that'll wrap up the Dallas Cowboys interview. Big thanks for Uncle Dave going ahead, jumping on here and breaking down Dallas for us today. You guys know where to find Uncle Dave and I at pregame.com. Check us out on Twitter at sleepyj_pregame and Dave_Essler. With that said, I'd like to wish you guys all the best of luck. Enjoy the games. Hey guys, if you enjoy our content and want even more videos from pregame.com, hit that subscribe button right now. I promise you, you will not find better sports betting information anywhere else.